Go buy tea for everyone. It took place at the anniversary celebration of a well-known food company. Emily, the daughter of the firm president, told me this as she threw a $1 coin at me. Releasing the coin to Emily, I did it in silence. I was overcome with melancholy. Why did I have to endure such hateful treatment? When the party staff saw what was happening, they grew pale and started whispering to each other. What's everyone fussing about? Emily's father, the head of the company, came up to me at that point and said something unexpected. I'm Jack, and I'm 42 years old. Normally I work at a small plant on a rural island that processes seaweed, but my family and I recently moved back into the city. My wife missed the broad sky of the island, and my two sons said that they liked the island better than the metropolis. We returned to the city because we were invited to a well-known food company's anniversary celebration tomorrow. We were invited to come by my mentor, Kevin, the company's executive, so we made our first return in years. Kevin requested to see me today before the celebration, so I went to the corporate office by myself. One of the most recognizable structures in the city, a skyscraper, served as the company's headquarters. A car sped into the entrance and halted as I was admiring the impressive edifice from below. A long-haired woman in a gaudy suit and black shades emerged from the bright red sports automobile. A couple of staff members hastily emerged from the doorway to welcome her. You've arrived late. Before the automobile got here, you ought to have been here to unlock the door. The two workers hung their heads and listened in silence while she complained. We're sorry, they said. Are you aware of who I am? You realize that you are readily replaceable. I couldn't help but feel bad for the workers when I saw this incident, so I ended up talking to the woman. Excuse me. I turned to face the three of them, startled by my abrupt arrival. She gave me a stern look and said, What is it? Her furious attitude intimidated me for a moment, but I worked up the nerve to say, Excuse me, but I'd like to see Kevin. You say the executive, Kevin. Are you scheduled to see someone? True enough, I'm Jack. Our scheduled meeting time for today is 1:00 p.m. The woman became even more agitated and yelled to me, Why don't you ask at the reception? Does Kevin even work here, by the way? Miss Emily, Kevin is President Harrison's right-hand man, the staff hesitantly said as they exchanged eyes. You're familiar with him. The woman heard this and her voice rose in rage, her cheeks flushed scarlet. I've never met him. Now move quickly. We're heading inside. I only came back because my father insisted. She then raced into the building, dragging the staff members behind her. Even though she was just called Emily, is it possible that this woman is the daughter of Mr. Harrison, the company's president? One of the earlier employees came back to me after they departed, right as I was ready to go to the reception. I regret what happened previously. I've reached out to Kevin. Kindly ride the elevator to the 37th floor. Thank you for going out of your way. The staff member bowed to me and dashed back inside. Kevin. It has been a long time. Nice to see you once more. Thank you for coming today. It brought me great joy to see Kevin again after all these years. We met at your wedding, is that correct? What state is your family in? Yes, my boys are maturing quickly. My youngest is currently 4 years old, and my oldest just began first grade. Every day, my wife and her friends on the island are busy trying out new recipes made using regional products. Well, I can't wait to meet them tomorrow. During my brief training assignment at a different organization, Kevin served as my mentor. He was gracious enough to mentor me throughout my first few days of work as a department manager at the time. I once made a big error that cost the company money, yet Kevin never put the responsibility on me. Rather, he went with me to apologize to the client and the business. While driving back from the client's office, I sobbed and apologized to Kevin. I've never forgotten what he said to me at the time. People who never fail never grow. I still find comfort in those remarks now. Kevin, just get rid of the nonsense. Please just be with me as you used to. Well, if you insist. Please, I haven't changed at all. Kevin hesitated at first, but then he consented and said, all right. We kept talking about my kids and island life, and although we could have spoken for hours, I chose to depart so as not to interfere with his work. Well, I should be heading out already. How unfortunate. At the party tomorrow, we'll have plenty of time to catch up. Allow me to also acquaint you with my family. That is accurate. I'm excited about it. I said Kevin farewell and opened the door, almost running into a woman who was hurriedly walking down the hallway in her loudly clicking high heels. Ah! She cried out before abruptly stopping. The girl who had been yelling earlier in the entrance was Emily, the president's daughter. Observe it. That was risky. I apologize. Are you okay? I asked quickly, and Emily appeared to know who I was. You? How come you're here? How could you enter our business without authorization? Well, you see. Kevin heard the commotion and hurriedly out from his office to introduce Emily to me. This is a friend of mine, Miss Emily. We were supposed to get together at work today. However, isn't it odd to have an outsider present during business hours? I'll let my dad know. Kevin's visage softened when he heard the words unrelated to the company, and he spoke gently in an attempt to reassure her. Miss Emily, this individual has ties to the organization. Actually, thaw. I stopped Kevin before he could reveal who I was, telling him it was okay. I'm about to head out. I'm sorry, I said to the woman, hoping to avoid causing her any more difficulty while I was at work. I ran to the elevator so I could get out of there as soon as possible. I heard her yell, "Don't ever come back to our company again," from behind me. I entered the elevator discreetly, not even turning around. Emily disrupted what should have been a happy reunion with Kevin, and I departed feeling sad. I went to the anniversary party location with my family the following day. We had decided to go to my father's factory first and have lunch together because the party was in the evening. After a long absence, my kids were overjoyed to visit their grandparents once more. My dad has a modest factory in a central part of town. From the time I finished middle school until I was 35, I volunteered there. There were only 3 of us working at the factory at the time, including my father, and the business was shaky and greatly affected by the state of the economy. Despite this, my father encouraged me to finish high school. In light of this, I made the decision to assist in the workplace rather than seek higher education. As we entered the factory, my kids yelled, "Grandpa, we're here." My dad came out the back when he heard them talking. "Oh, you succeeded. It's been a long time, Dad. How are you doing? Ever since she learned that you were all arriving, your mother has been eager to prepare lunch. I'll head over to assist her." My wife and the children then made their way to the main residence. The phone at the workplace rang just as we were ready to head out to the party location after we had lunch together. It was a call from one of the factory's customers, informing us that they were running low on deliveries to another company as a result of an ordering error and asking if we could assist them. But it was Sunday, and no one was working in the plant. It was closed. We ought to endeavor to assist them. They seem to be having problems. But you can't do it by yourself, Dad. Stop worrying about it. Head over to the venue. The celebration kicks off at 4. Yes, being late would be impolite. Having come to the realization that my father was unable to manage the burden by himself, I made the decision to stay and assist him. I'd assured my wife and children that I would join them later and ordered them to head to the event. My father was hesitant at first, but as soon as he saw me putting on the work overalls that were hanging on a chair in the factory, he quietly got to work. We completed the work just after 4:00 p.m. Jack. Thank you, my father said as he hurried out to make the delivery. I will handle the delivery. I couldn't help but be really respectful of him and the way he treats everyone as I watched him go. The location was a renowned old hotel in the city. I hurried to the party's reception wearing my oil-stained overalls, forgetting to change out of them in my haste. When I showed up in my filthy work clothes, the receptionist looked at me curiously at first, then looked at me again and apologized profusely. I apologize. I apologize for being late. Has everyone entered the building already? Yes, the celebration began roughly half an hour ago. Kindly proceed. As I opened the door to enter after being escorted to the entryway, I saw Emily, the woman from earlier, standing there wearing a bright red, sequined mini dress that matched the color of the sports car I had seen. The same two male staff members were behind her. Emily yelled, "Who's this filthy man that looks like a cockroach?" As soon as she saw me, "Miss Emily, maybe you could speak a little quieter. Everyone is ogling us." The other workers in the room looked at us, obviously interested in what Emily was making such a fuss about. A few workers close to me began muttering, "Hey, isn't that? Could it be that Miss Emily is unaware of that person's identity? That is not possible. She should know, she's the president's daughter." The whispering went on, getting louder. "Hold on, aren't you the obnoxious dude I nearly ran into at work the other day? You've traveled a great distance in that squalid attire. What are you even wanting?" "Well, Kevin invited me." Kevin? Once more? How in the world could he have invited someone as vile and repulsive as you? He's really worthless. Not only was I astonished that she called me dirty, but I was much more offended that she made fun of Kevin. Please refrain from disparaging Kevin. I'm to blame for showing up here in this attire. When Emily heard that from me, she gave off the impression that she was about to respond with a disappointed look for a moment. But then she turned to face me and grinned wickedly, saying, "That's right. You dirty bug, how dare you respond to me? But I could forgive you since I'm a compassionate person. I'll even make you my personal servant. You need to be appreciative." "Listen carefully, this is an order from me," Emily said, grinning. "Get tea for everyone at this place," she remarked, flinging a dollar coin at me in front of the staff members who were there. The workers surrounding us paled and began to whisper in horror at that time. Emily was the only one who stood there, laughing with her arms crossed. What's causing everyone's agitation? It's a really smart concept. I'm going to buy tea for everyone in this room. I knelt down, took out the dollar coin, and extended it toward Emily without saying anything. "What are you saying? Is this insufficient, or are you simply unwilling to purchase it?" As she said, she grabbed the dollar coin out of my palm. I was overcome with melancholy. Why was I subjected to this kind of treatment? Had I done something so awful that Emily was giving it to me? Just moments earlier, the party had been bustling. Suddenly, Emily's ridiculous antics had brought everything to disarray. In the midst of the chaos, I saw someone approaching us carefully. I knew this man well when I was a young boy, so I recognized him right away. It's been a long time, Jack, and he halted in front of me. Kyle. When he arrived, the room, which had been alive with whispers, became quiet. Only Emily persisted in her cacophonous tirade. "This stranger, who is he? Who the heck is he now? Jack, I heard you were coming today, so I decided to drop over too. It's wonderful to meet you." Kyle drew me into a soft embrace. I had been waiting so long to see Kyle that I was genuinely delighted. One of my father's industrial clients filed for bankruptcy when I was in elementary school because of a bounced payment. Kyle was employed by that failed company at the time. At the time, he was in his 20s and was sending money to his family back home. However, he was put in a difficult situation when the factory abruptly closed. My father saw Kyle's situation and extended an invitation for him to live and work at our plant. Despite the difficult circumstances facing our plant as well, my father chose to recruit Kyle because he could not stand to watch him suffer. Every day, Kyle gave his all at work. My father used to frequently comment, "Kyle is quick to learn and has a natural talent," which I can still clearly recall. I regarded Kyle as though he were my actual elder brother. He responded by treating me like a younger brother and frequently remarking that I made him think of his own sibling back home. After a few years, Kyle's abilities were acknowledged, and a big corporation made him an offer to join. At first, Kyle politely declined the offer, but my father urged him to seize the chance. "Kyle, you're meant to conduct a worthwhile job that benefits people." My father informed him, "You'll get more experience out there than you would staying here." I sobbed, begging Kyle not to go the morning he departed. Kyle gave me a hug and said, "I'll come back when I've made it," after noticing that I was crying. "Hold on for me." I had faith in his promise up to that point. My father owned a factory where I worked hard after graduating from middle school. I believed that if I put in the effort, I could surpass Kyle's level of expertise and gain a closer relationship with him. After some time, the factory attained stability. One day, when I was going to be 35, a man showed up at the plant. With a quick recognition, my father said, "Kyle, is that you really? It's been a while." I heard him say, "Mr. Nelson," and I hurried out the rear. He gave me a nice smile upon seeing me. "Jack, it's been a long time." "I've missed you, Kyle." His smile was familiar and reassuring, just like I recalled. Kyle was overjoyed when my father invited him to join us for supper. We all sat down at the same table for the first time in years while he shared memories of my mother's food. Kyle questioned me, "Jack, are you married yet?" after supper. "No, I'm not there yet, but I'm seeing someone." "Well, how about we go there, shall we?" "Explain what you mean." With his knees crossed in front of him, Kyle sat down in front of us and declared, "I want you to take over my company, Jack." "What?" "I want you to head every single one of my 50 group companies as chairman." "How come?" "Chairman of 50 businesses." As I listened, I found out that Kyle wanted me to take over all 50 of the firms he was now the chairman of. Not at all. Such a big duty is beyond me. "I trust you, so I want you to do it." Kyle persisted no matter how many times I told him it was not feasible. After first being astonished, even my parents came around to Kyle's proposal and helped him persuade me. Their tenacity overwhelmed me, and I found myself responding, "All right, I'll give it a try." I then started my business management studies at a faster pace. In order to get a thorough understanding of the business, I also went incognito to every group company in the nation. I reasoned that by keeping my name as the chairman a secret, I might be able to learn more about the company's true nature. I also moved my family to a distant island during this time and got married to my present wife. One of the group enterprises where I had received training was a small seaweed processing factory located on that island. It was at that time that I fell in love with the island. The factory brought back memories of my father's workplace by emphasizing the value of interpersonal relationships. I had only just revealed to the press that I was the chairman at this time. Emily, meantime, yawned in boredom as she observed our reunion. The staff finally started muttering among themselves as they became to understand who we were. "That's the current chairman and the former chairman, right?" Emily asked her assistant, "What do they mean by the current and former chairman?" Because it seemed that she had heard this, but wasn't exactly sure what it meant. Apparently those two are our company's current and past chairman, something I didn't know until recently. How come? Why was I never informed? And why didn't you respond earlier? When Emily realized I was the chairman now, she freaked out and started berating the staff for not telling her sooner. "Miss Emily, we have been traveling overseas with you for years, and we have recently returned. We were also unaware of the identity of the current chairman." With almost tears in her eyes, one of the staff members yelled and fled the room. When the other staff members saw this, they silently did the same. It was evident that they had reached their breaking point, and I felt sorry for them. Following their departure, Emily found herself standing by herself in front of a large group of workers who were observing her from a distance. They left so swiftly. This is uninteresting. I might as well head out as well. At that moment, Mr. Harrison, Emily's father, entered through the open door. "Oh, Dad, after the party started, weren't you sleeping in your room?" Mr. Harrison concluded his salutation. It appeared that he briefly rested in a room. The vacant staff members surrounding me mentioned that he appeared unwell and had been preoccupied with back-to-back workdays. I had never seen Mr. Harrison before, but I could tell right away that he didn't look well. After receiving a report about the disturbance from his secretary, he quickly returned to the location, obliging Emily's look of surprise. Mr. Harrison stepped past her, came over to me, and then he fell on one knee, bowed his head deeply in regret. "Mr. Nelson, I truly regret my daughter's actions." Emily was uncomfortable when she saw her father bowing to me in front of all the staff members and yelled, "Dad, what are you doing in front of everyone? Wake up already." Mr. Harrison, still on his knees, lifted his head, stared at Emily, and yelled back, "You apologize too. Are you even aware of this man's identity?" In spite of her father's remarks, Emily didn't seem worried. "Whom? Although I don't know him well, he seems to be our company's chairman. You do realize that's nothing to do with me." When Mr. Harrison heard this, he started to shake with anger. "You are such a fool, Emily. Seeing how naive my own daughter has grown hurts me." The workers in the room were glued to the drama unfolding between the president and his daughter, determined not to miss a word. Then, turning back to face me and lowering his head once again, Mr. Harrison said, "Mr. Nelson, I sincerely apologize. It is all my fault that my daughter has turned out this way. I accept full responsibility as her parent and plan to step down as president right away." His announcement of his resignation shocked everyone in the room. "Mr. Harrison, could you just look up? It is not necessary to bow in this manner." Regardless of the parent-child dynamic, I couldn't help but feel that it wasn't appropriate for a parent to apologize to their adult daughter for something she had done. That's why I attempted to interrupt him mid-apology. Mr. Harrison, though, would not budge. "No, I have ignored my daughter's transgressions for far too long. It's been said that the more you adore a child, the more bothersome they are. But I've allowed her to become into someone who despises other people and lacks common decency by giving her money and letting her do as she liked. I am alone accountable for this." His speech carried a strong sense of commitment, as though he had accepted his choice. "From now on, I will resign as president." Moreover, he turned to face Emily at that point and said something startling. "I will disown my daughter." "What? Reject?" Emily was astounded by his declaration, as were I and the other guests. As an adult lady over 30 years old, you still lack knowledge about the outside world. You haven't learned how to engage with people. You have lived a selfish life. You'll be on your own from now on, having to learn the actual world's realities from the beginning. "Not at all. I vehemently object. I'm not leaving the house, no matter what you say. If you can, please try making me." Emily refused to back down and continued to act defiantly, even toward her own father. Right then, whoosh, the front door flew open. Wait a minute. Everybody turned to face the voice's origin. Emily's attendants, who had departed earlier, were now making their way back. With regard to Miss Emily's transgressions, we have something to confess. It concerns the crimes that Miss Emily attempted to perpetrate. What do you think you're doing coming back now? The attendant's revelations caused the room, which had been hushed seconds before, to buzz with newfound interest. Miss Emily attempted to obtain private company information without authorization. She intended to sell it to a competitor business. What? Hearing this startling admission from Emily's attendants, Mr. Harrison became pale and appeared extremely concerned. Of course, it's impossible due to security measures, but when she realized she couldn't do that, she told us to find a way to withdraw money from the company instead. The employee's dissatisfaction with Emily boiled out after hearing the attendant's confessions. What does she perceive this business to be? We've put a lot of effort into this company, and yet she's been allowed to do whatever she wants because she's the boss's daughter. Never again reveal your face here." Mr. Harrison stayed down on the floor, his head dropped low in desperation, while the irate yells of the workers filled the space. Upon witnessing Mr. Harrison in this condition, I couldn't help but feel intense compassion for him. To have his much-loved daughter betray him in this way. Emily, meantime, listened to the employee's charges without displaying any regret, shaking her light impatiently and even clicking her tongue now and then in annoyance. Mr. Harrison eventually got up and requested, "Can someone please call security?" while continuing to look down sadly. Upon the arrival of the security guards that the staff had called, Mr. Harrison pointed directly at Emily and demanded something. "Please escort this woman out of here." "What? Someone has broken in here. Take her off the property right now." "Papa, what's wrong with you? Are you crazy now? You are the one who has gone insane. You've become a stranger to me. We are no longer father and daughter. Leave now." Emily was pulled from the arena by the security personnel when they seized her by the arms. Emily could not stop screaming aloud as she was being taken out. "This can't be happening. Papa. Hey, give me up. Are you aware of who I am?" I then learned that the police had to be called when Emily attempted to force her way back into the hotel after being escorted out by the security officers. "I'm the president's daughter." She cried out even after the police showed up. "Keep your hands off of me. Now let me back in." Following Emily's departure from the venue, Mr. Harrison bowed to all in attendance and declared his intention to step down. I stopped him before he could try to leave the room and talked him out of his resignation and into giving it another go for the good of the firm. I advised him to put his attention going forward on what he could do to support the staff if he genuinely felt regret for what had occurred. However, Mr. Harrison objected, stating, "I'm not qualified for that." That's when Kevin said something. "You've come to my aid numerous times. Throughout the years I've worked with you, I've observed your consideration for the business and its personnel. I think that's how everyone feels here." Each employee gave a nod of assent. "No, but even so, Mr. Harrison, I'm still young and inexperienced. But I'd like to share something with you," Mr. Harrison said, tears welling up in his eyes as he responded to Kevin's remarks. "I was once given advice by a mentor that has helped me ever since." Then I said what had meant so much to me. People cannot grow if they are unaware of failure. I think you can always start over and learn from your mistakes, no matter how old you are. For the benefit of the staff, I thus ask that you keep up your hard work. Mr. Harrison was approached by Kyle, who had been silently listening, who remarked, "Mr. Harrison, you worked hard and built this firm from the ground up. It's possible that you raised your daughter incorrectly, but as Jack mentioned before, growth is impossible for those who are unaware of failure. Kindly remember that and keep moving forward. Everyone, I apologize. I truly apologize." President Harrison was unable to continue speaking after that and started crying. I wrapped my arm around his shoulder and comforted him. The staff were affected by the spectacle and continued to cheer for a considerable amount of time after that. It is true that Emily's parents disowned her and forced her to leave the home. Her former attendants sued her as well, claiming they had been mistreated both mentally and physically. She was made to pay a sizable portion of the awarded damages. She soon found herself working on a fishing boat owned by one of Kyle's buddies, helping with cleaning and supporting the fishermen, after being unable to find job and requiring money to pay for the damages. Emily used to try to get away a lot, so the fishermen watched her carefully. Emily didn't resemble her previous glamorous self at all, according to a mutual acquaintance who had seen her recently. She was sunburned, had messy hair, little makeup, and appeared to have aged considerably. Nevertheless, if she puts in a lot of effort there, she may eventually improve greatly from who she was previously. I'm clinging to that sliver of optimism. As it happened, my family wasn't there in the party hall for the entire incident. The three of them had been sleeping in a waiting room as my youngest kid dozed off. That was a relief to hear, because I didn't want my kids to see anything like that. We walked out of the motel, and it was getting dark. Kyle was waiting for us as we were about to leave for home. Jack, today it must have been tough for you. Kyle, thank you. You also had a difficult time. Do you intend to return to the island? Yeah, life there suits us better. Both me and my family. My family gave me warm smiles and nodded in response when I looked at them. As I work on the island, I'll continue to study business, and I'll visit the enterprises as needed. My family may miss me when I'm gone, and the company may find it inconvenient, but Dad, because you're working hard, we'll work hard too. Me too. I enjoy watching you work so hard, even though there are moments when I miss you. Oh, how romantic. My family's support impacted me so much that I had to look up to keep from crying. I'm happy I gave you everything. I've always been somebody who loves to make things, not so much of a businessman. Jack, I was thinking about you right away when I was having trouble deciding what to do with the companies. Are you serious? Why you selected me has always baffled me. I take it that you watched your father grow up. You've developed into someone who is exactly like him, kind, considerate, and mature. The things Kyle said struck a deep chord with me. The knowledge that he felt that way about me moved me. You never give up on individuals who are weak, which is a sign of strength in you. I knew I could trust you with everything because of this. Yeah, Dad's the best and the strongest. Indeed, the greatest of the best. Please, I'm embarrassed. Come on. I had a fresh appreciation for everyone in my immediate vicinity. My parents, my family, Kyle, and Kevin are the reason I've been able to be true to myself all these years. Dad, let's go back to the island soon. Yes, let's head back soon to the place where I truly belong.